Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jeff Taylor, and I'm excited to talk to you about the fulfillment and post-sale steps of the sales process. If you did your job well in the earlier stages of the sales process, these two steps will take you all the way to the closed sale and will also prevent backouts. Remember back in the old days when you would rush right into presentation mode as soon as you found a prospect? And how you gave away so much information before even knowing about their needs, their ability to pay, or about how they made their decisions? And remember how you lost so many sales to the competition without even knowing why? But now that's all in the past, because now you have a system. And in this system, you don't even move into the fulfillment or presentation step until you complete the following. Number one, during the pain step, you discover the prospect's real pain and its real impact on them. The prospect sees your expertise and competence, as well as the fit between their pains and your product or service. Number two, during the budget step, you discover the amount the prospect is both willing and able to spend on a solution, and you know that your product or service will fit within that budget. Number three, during the decision step, you discover who the decision makers are, how their decision will be made, and what they need to see or hear from you in order to move forward. And finally, number four, you establish an agreement about what will take place during the fulfillment presentation and that they will give you a yes or no decision following the presentation. What all this leads to is you giving fewer wasted presentations that wouldn't go anywhere anyway, and that those presentations you do give will lead to closing more sales and reaping you a higher income. So here's how the fulfillment step works. You prepare your presentation so that it will first define a solution that addresses your prospect's pains. Second, be at a cost that is within their previously defined budget. And third, be consistent with your prospect's decision-making process, including presenting to the right people in a format they want and that provides their desired solution. As you give your presentation, you want to make sure that you only present solutions to the pains that you and your prospect have previously identified, and that you present only what is necessary and agreed upon that they have to see in order to make a yes decision. As you begin your fulfillment presentation, you might want to ask your prospect which pain she wants you to address first. You then address that pain, then ask which pain to address next, and so on. Constantly check that each issue you address is done to the prospect's satisfaction. And remember that this is not the time to introduce aspects that you haven't already discussed with your prospect. One great way I've found to move through the fulfillment step is by using the thermometer close. It helps you complete and close the sale, and it goes like this. First, you give your presentation addressing the prospect's pains and your solutions to those pains. Second, after you've addressed maybe 2/3 of the pain issues, you take your prospect's temperature. You can ask a question like, Mary, we haven't covered everything yet, but at this point, where are you on a 0 to 10 scale as to whether you've seen all you need in order to sign the papers and get started? If Mary says she's at a 10, you then move on to the confirmation your presentation can end. If she says she's not yet at a 10, find out why and deal with those issues. It may simply mean addressing the rest of the pains you previously identified. You continue your presentation by addressing the remaining pains and dealing with any other questions she asks. As soon as your prospect reaches 10, you then confirm the sale. You can do this by saying, "That's great, Mary. What would you like us to do now?" If she doesn't know, you can prompt her with something like, "I don't suppose you want to write out a purchase order and pick some installation dates?" She can then answer, "Sure, we can do that." When your prospect answers in the affirmative, be sure to remain calm and don't get all excited. You simply congratulate your new client, sign the paperwork, and move forward. Well, happy day, you did it. There's nothing more to do but to go back to the office and begin the process all over again with a new prospect, right? Wrong. Big wrong. As I'm sure you have disappointedly experienced in the past, way too many sales unravel even after the close takes place. And I'll bet that has cost you a lot. And that is precisely why you now have a step to make sure that your customer does not back out at this point. That's why you have the post-sale step. So let's review the post-sale step. Your knowledge of the post-sale is one of the most powerful advantages that you have in the sales process. As you take your new client through this step, you will accomplish two important things. First, you will prevent the loss of the sale from either buyer's remorse, from your prospect canceling to go to the competition, or from their going back to their current supplier. Second, you will establish the ground rules for moving forward with your new customer. This can include agreeing on things like installation, training, and defining your new ongoing relationship. So how do you deal with buyer's remorse? As you know, most salespeople are hesitant to even address buyer's remorse with the prospect. This is because their previous training taught them to simply get the order and get out. They're afraid that if their prospect expresses buyer's remorse, they won't know how to respond. And so they simply hope for the best, which is rarely the case. So I want to stress to you that the best way to prevent buyer's remorse is to actually give your prospect the chance to back out while you are face to face. Look, if buyer's remorse is going to become a problem, isn't it better to deal with it face to face than over the phone or by email? So, how do you even find out if buyer's remorse will be a problem? Well, that's easy. You just ask. Let me give you an example. Let's say you just signed an agreement with the dentist for a new piece of equipment and it's a big investment on the dentist's part. You might say, "Doctor, I think you made a wise decision and I'm looking forward to working with you. But I'm wondering just what might come up to cause you to have second thoughts and to call me later and ask me to put the order on hold." If the dentist responds that nothing will cause that to happen, you ask, "Are you sure?" You see, the idea behind this is that you have to be comfortable with the reality that buyer's remorse does happen and that it's common, it occurs all the time, but you can take steps to head it off. Just remember, the only thing you risk by asking is finding out the truth. This gives you a chance to address any concerns they have while you're still with them. And also, if your prospect answers that he or she won't have any buyer's remorse, it greatly strengthens his or her inner commitment to follow through with the sale. Okay, but what about if you're replacing a current supplier? The post-sale step is especially important when this is the case, because once that supplier finds out that you've replaced them, you know that they'll do just about anything to save the business, including making unrealistic promises and probably even lowering the price. This is why you have to prepare your new client for this event and train them for exactly how to react to the desperate salesperson's plea. Here's an example of how you might bring it up. You could say something like, "Doctor, I really appreciate the opportunity to do business with you. But there's one thing I'd like to ask if it's okay. I know that you've been doing business with Mike Jones for many years. When Mike finds out that you've placed your business with me, he'll certainly be upset. I'm sure he'll say things like, 'How could you do this to me after all these years we've done business?' He'll probably make promises and certainly tell you he can find you a lower price. When he does this, the promises, the guilt, the price cut, how are you going to react?" Now, this is where you rehearse with your client exactly what he or she will say. Play the devil's advocate. If your client says, "Well, I'll just say such and such," you reply, and if he still pleads and makes more promises, what will you say? To your client's new response, add, "And if that doesn't work, then what will you say?" This is where you can make suggestions and role play. Something like, "Doctor, maybe you could say this. Mike, this is a good business decision I've made and I'm sticking with it. Doctor, do you think that might help?" Just make sure you don't leave until you're certain that your new client will remain your new client. The post-sale step is also where you address issues such as installation, training, and the support that your new client will receive from both you and your company. As you help them know that the working relationship will be both supportive and advantageous to them, they'll have much more confidence in the decision they just made to go with you. You have now taken proactive steps to ensure that buyer's remorse or going to the competition will not be an issue that you have to deal with in the near future. Now, as you know, this was just a review. You'll find more detail, including examples and suggested script lines, in your workbook entitled The Fulfillment and Post-Sale Steps of the Sales Process. I congratulate you. You're on your way to more sales, greater success, and a much higher income. Now go out and put these things to work. And always remember, even while you're practicing and getting better at applying these things, whatever you do will still be the best they've ever seen.